Imperfect Gentleman Show.
We are the Imperfect Gentleman, the show where we bring on a female guest each and every week to get the female perspective on topics, trending topics, culture, and of course, how to be better men. And today's guest is the wonderful, amazing, talented
Madison Sinclair. Hey guys, what's up?
Yeah, strong Madison Sinclair, who, if you guys don't know, Madison, for the people who don't know you, you work on like a really cool show right now.
Yeah, I actually just stopped. I was writing for Steve Harvey for about 7 months.
How crazy. So you're actually the one who gives advice to women.
No, actually he's like really specific about that part of it. If anything, I wish I could steer him a little bit more with the advice he gives. But no, mostly we would just do monologue jokes and like come up with desk pieces and stuff like that.
That's amazing. So question
cool.
to you.
Yeah.
If you could steer him in a direction, what direction would it be?
I feel like it's where everything, it's like a really conservative perspective that the show comes from, and it's just like kind of birthed by the church, and that's a little bit different than what I am personally. So I feel like it's what he does, it's what his brand is, so I wouldn't change it, honestly. That's just like what he believes, and I feel like it's kind of cool to have like a different perspective with your writers and the show.
Have you faced any new sensitivities with all that's going on in the world where jokes you maybe made in the past that wouldn't be appropriate now? Are there certain politically correct things that you as a writer have to be more aware about, especially when writing for a man?
Yeah, I mean, specifically, I did roast battle last week, and it was against Robin Tran. She's a transgender Asian comedian.
Yes, I do actually.
And I made a joke about how I said I've been a big fan of her ever since I saw her in that Logan Paul video, and it's like comparing her to a dead man.
Oh my gosh!
But the biggest thing people were like, "Oh, she's not Japanese." I'm like, yeah, but I'm comparing her to a dead man.
Yeah, but people, I was at that roast battle. Did people respond?
Literally, someone said like, "No, but she's not Japanese." I'm
like why?
Yeah, but I'm
that's the point. It's a roast battle. You're roasting the person. Basically, you're hitting her on three different levels. First of all, she's not a man. Second of all, she's not Japanese. Yeah. Third of all, she didn't commit suicide. So when you add all those three up, added, it's like it's relevant.
Was
it's
that
now.
a 3-for-1 joke?
Yeah, I tried to be, but I guess you have to have the right racial identity of a person. Correct?
So you were actually participating in the battle.
Yeah.
You're right.
It was Madison versus Rob.
So that was, and that leads into my next question. Now, as a white woman, do you feel more pressure, of things you can and can't say with this backlash coming from minority groups now?
No, honestly, I have a weird racial identity because I'm actually mixed race, but I don't look it. So I feel like I don't.
And what a bad assumption I just made. I should have asked.
You know what was actually the worst assumption? The fact that you said backlash from minority groups as if you're not a minority, and it's like backlash. And what do you mean? As people are becoming more sensitive.
I've been watching Trump lately,
what are you doing, man?
I've been watching
What are you
Trump.
doing? Like, that was like so Fox News. That was Fox News. So what's your mix?
My dad's Lebanese and my mom's Irish and Cherokee.
And that's the thing.
So
people
you're
don't
my
realize
peoples. You're my peoples. I'm
Yeah,
Lebanese.
Nice.
So cool.
See, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't know what people are, and everyone makes these assumptions because in life we do judge books by their cover.
Yeah, there's also like a litmus test for whiteness. I feel like if you don't have to I don't have to think about race like that often. It's not really a big topic, and I feel like if you don't have to think about race, you're white, basically.
I'm gonna tell you something that happened to me recently, and it was interesting. I was at West Hollywood Park, and they're doing a big renovation. And they have this big poster up that says "The Future of West Hollywood," and it's a poster that shows the architecture and all the renovations that they're doing at its completion. And as I was looking at this poster, I saw beautiful people, men, women, trans people, gay people, openly gay people. Obviously, it's West Hollywood. Dogs, cats, the pool, everything. You know what I didn't see? A single black person on this poster. I didn't see a single black person. And so I called them and I was like, hey, I'm really excited for the renovations. They had a number.
You really called?
I called. I called.
Oh,
First of all, I put it on the gram. Then
Okay.
I called and was like, hey, I'm really excited about the renovations. I noticed the future that you guys in the poster, it looks amazing. They were like, yeah, isn't it great? I was like, yeah, it's great, except there's not a single black person in there. The neighborhood that's calling itself the most inclusive neighborhood in the United States did not include a single black person. And who do I talk to about this? When I say, they were like, hold on, and then we'll call you right back. And then like minutes later, the head person called me back. And then she was like so apologetic and was like, I don't know. And then passed the buck and said it was the company that's doing, we didn't know.
The ad agency.
Ad agency. We're going to talk to them.
They did hire an ad agency.
Sure, but they have to check off on it, right?
Their marketing manager has to check off.
Who do we get mad at? Do we get mad at the ad agency, Kylie Jenner, or Pepsi? You know what I'm saying? Who do we
Kendall,
get mad
right?
at? The
You mean
ad
Kendall,
agency, the black mom, or coolest monkey in the jungle, H&M.
I'm on the radio show.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like one of those things where it's like you can get mad at you can get mad at the agency, but you can get mad at the agency, but like that's not how it works.
Did you get mad at Kendall for the Pepsi commercial?
I didn't think personally, I watched that commercial. I didn't think it was that bad. I just thought it was bad timing. Like they did it in the midst of everything going on, and it's like, but it was really just a retelling of something that happened during Vietnam.
You know that Dodge right now is getting heat. I don't know if you saw their Super Bowl commercial where they used the MLK speech to basically sell their truck.
It's horrible.
Yeah. And they're like, and then the thing is, it said today is exactly 50 years since this speech or something like that. And then I was like, oh my gosh, they're about to say something like super like game changing for the world. And they're like, buy our truck.
Yeah. But
like, what?
But like, okay, so you right.
Yeah.
How do you feel about these?
With like, do you mean just like with race issues in general?
No, just like the fact that people are getting upset at these things. Should we be getting upset? Should we not? How does it go? Tell us behind the scenes.
The way that it's going, I think right now is that I'm very in touch with what's offensive and what's not. I feel like when I see something that's that people get offended about, I'm like, of course. And then I feel like, but these older people, they're not used to that, and they're constantly, they do these like racist things. They say things that are sexist because it's so embedded on who they are, and they think it's an attack on everything. So they get overly sensitive, and they think all jokes are off band, and it's not. It's like there's totally jokes you can make. You can make offensive jokes. People are fine with it. It's just these people don't know what's right and wrong, so they want to make everything wrong. And I think it just comes to a place of ignorance.
I feel like these people become on both sides are bullies.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you have to be racist. No, you can't be racist at all. Like, you can't make me want to care. I should either care or not. And I appreciate when we have laws and things like that, of course, benefit everybody. Integration, for example. But at the same time, I don't think that it's a situation where we need to always be caring. Like, and what I mean by that is, if you personally don't care, you don't have to. That's the freedom of America. We should want to care. I don't want to live in a world that we're not allowed to have guns. I want to live in a world where no one wants to have a gun. Mm. You know, it's like a personal desire. That's just how, and people are just way too sensitive. But at the same time, people don't care enough.
Teron, I totally agree. We should only shoot animals with cameras. I was thinking about this last night. Let's only shoot animals with cameras. We don't need guns. We have cameras.
I dated a guy who was terrified of mass shootings all the time. Like, he was like super paranoid about it. We were at the zoo, and he was like, they didn't check us at security. Like, something awful could have happened. And I thought about it. If there was ever a mass shooting at a zoo and like one animal get injured, like then gun control may actually happen. I feel like people would actually be outraged.
Was this guy vegan?
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't being sincere.
George is a vegan, so that's, you know, it's interesting. In like in the 60s, one lady, you know, got hit with a trailer, so now all trailers have to have the little backside thing, so no one goes under them. And then, you know, one person died in a seatbelt crash, and we had regulations, everyone. And like one guy tried to get on a plane with a possible shoe bomb, and now forever we have to take our shoes off at every airport.
Is that what it's all about?
Yeah,
so it's not only because I'm Lebanese.
No, it's everyone takes their shoes off and gets on the plane. And then with gun control, we're like, yeah, but you know what we can fix this one with? Thoughts and prayers. And that's the only way this will go away. And it's just interesting. It's interesting, but and I'm not for or against guns. My thing is, we need to all just be better. Like, just because you're offended doesn't mean you're...
You wanted a day where no one wants guns.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I'm not against guns. Gun is a tool. It's like a hammer, right? So if I take a hammer and bash someone's head in, that doesn't make the hammer inherently evil. It makes me inherently evil. It's a tool, and we can use this tool to do whatever it is that we need to do. So, and that's what comedy is. It's a tool. And you're a comedian.
Yeah.
And do you feel like you're using your tool responsibly?
I feel like I get really uncomfortable if I do anything that I don't want to offend people. Like, but I don't kind of tiptoe along to the thing where I feel like I can't say anything. But I I want it to be fun, and I don't really understand when there's comics who are trying to offend people, because that's not what I got into comedy for. I don't want to get people pissed off. I want people to enjoy what I'm saying, and also I want to come from a place where it's me and I'm not someone who's ignorant, so I wouldn't want to be that on stage just to get a rise out of people.
Let me flip the question to both of you. You're both comics.
Yeah.
I'm not a comic, bro. I'm a hustler, and comedy just happens to be my hustle.
No, he's a
bars.
According to his profile, he's a celebrity comic, not just any comic. And actually, this celebrity will be having a celebrity party this Thursday at the Laugh Factory, 9:45 p.m. Madison, I hope to see you there with all of your very good-looking friends.
Okay.
Yeah,
male and female. And actually, you know what's interesting? When I wrote celebrity comedian, I didn't mean like I'm a celebrity comedian. I meant like I perform comedy for celebrities.
For celebrities.
That's what I was going for.
But what about
hoping that celebrities would hire me for the
But what about like the regular people who want to see you?
Yeah.
Regular.
Yo,
So Tehran
all
called
the rookies in the world can always come see me.
Tehran called my ex-regular and she stopped talking to us. But anyways, back to my question. First of all,
that's not even how it happened. No, explain the whole story.
Okay.
I was asking an opinion, and then George was giving me an opinion, and I was like, I don't want your opinion. I want the opinion of a regular, average person that will never amount to anything. And that happened to be his ex-girlfriend.
And the whole family like did voodoo on Tehran.
Oh, God.
Like the whole family found out.
And I'm living well.
And he's living well.
Anyway.
But first of all, before I get to my actual question, what's the difference between a comic and a comedian? I want to know, and the general public would like to know.
I feel like it's the same thing. It just depends on what you want to use. I feel like the only problem is when people say comic, there's this whole idea of like what a real comic is. And I think that that's usually when it gets used a lot. People are like, oh, real comics are, and there's this whole idea that they're tortured and that they're like, they go to 8 mics a day and they don't make any money. And I feel like the idea of being a comic and being this person who doesn't make any money and it just sounds like not fun.
Is it glorified like a gangster rapper?
Yeah, and I don't get that. I'm like, no, I want to make money and I want to be mentally healthy and I want to like have relationships
It's 3
and
letters.
stuff. Yeah.
She's right. I like that explanation. It's like rap and hip hop. It's like interchangeable until it's not. Until someone just goes, "You're not a comic." It's like, I'm sorry, I don't live in my car. Like and if I did, it'd still be a really nice car. Like it's not me.
Is it kind of like the starving artist, like the person who travels to California with their guitar and like 2 pairs of pants sort of story?
Yeah, it's so glorified. The people who are like taking mega buses.
2 pairs of pants. That's not real. I had 1 pair of pants.
He had 1 pair, and I
it wasn't
stole
even
them.
mine.
And I stole them.
Yeah.
Actually, Tehran's like, yo, you have the same jeans as me. I'm like, bro, these are your jeans. I took them from you. All right, so back to the question. All right.
Yeah.
So how often do you have to keep up with the news and like do actual R&D before you write jokes?
When I did monologue jokes, we had to do it every day. We had like
Holy
we had
crap.
like a 30-minute turnaround with stuff.
They gave you a 30-minute turnaround?
Yeah, so if anything like broke in the morning, like we would try to write stuff at night, but a lot of times it's like things would happen because we'd leave at like 5 p.m. So we'd have to try to write things as quickly as possible.
And that was for Harvey.
Yeah.
And were you in charge of him announcing the wrong winner?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Wow, a 30-minute turn. That's a lot of pressure. How many people were on the team?
It was me, Kiara, Anthony, 4, if you include the head writer.
Wow.
So it's pretty small.
So like if someone was passed out, the other person would have to like take, it's like a group project in school.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. And Tehran, how often do you, when you're not, being a celebrity comedian, how often do you do research on the news before you have to do your jokes?
I'm constantly always just learning because I want to, but not for my jokes. I don't give a shit. Listen, I'm creating what I deem as my art form. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, look away. You don't have to look at my art. Now, my problem is when people, like you were saying, Madison, when people say things just to be offensive. My thing is, just because you're offended does not mean you're right. But just because you're offensive does not mean you're right either. There's a fine balance between the two, and who am I to decide what this balance is? Fuck if I know. I'm some guy in a bathrobe.
I watched it last night. I made it over to Laugh Factory. Actually, my puppy made it over to my service dog, Choco the Cheagle. You could follow him on Instagram. All this.
Service dog is actually like a piece of paper that your dog does not have, right? Just because your dog is in your service.
He gives me emotional support, and I will argue this in court. Sure, I shouldn't have to pay a fee for being a depressed person. So, anyways, the dog loved the show. He loved the show. He was watching Tehran the whole time.
It's a dog.
Now there is a gentleman in the audience. Okay, this gentleman was from a country called Morocco, and Tehran said something about Middle Eastern countries, and he goes, "No, it's not in the Middle East. It's in Africa." And so they had like a little back and forth. It was kind of the thing where this guy was just wanted to be right, versus Tehran made it clear that he was joking. He was just speaking.
No, I actually made
Actually,
it
he
clear.
wasn't joking.
Actually, I made it clear that the concepts is. I don't think people understand what the Middle East is. So the Middle East isn't a continental location. It's a geographical location, and more importantly, it's a cultural location, meaning it's a location of an area which encompasses mostly Arabic or quote unquote Middle Eastern cultures, meaning you're going to go into parts of Africa because Egypt is also not in Asia where a lot of Middle Eastern countries lie. There's Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, Syria. These are all parts of the Middle East. How do you know? Because if we were like, hey, we're going to bomb the Middle East, niggas in Morocco should duck. Like, it's not like, well, I live in Morocco and we are not in the Middle East. And I told the guy, I was like, and besides, Trump thinks you're all Mexican anyway. So I don't understand what the argument
And the
is.
guy argued with him for like 5 minutes until he finally like caught the humor of it. And sometimes we just need to break the ice. And I think that's what comedy does. This guy went there thinking it's some like lecture where it was just everyone's there to have a good time. And that's what I like about comedy is that although I do think both of you should be sensitive to the news and the world and what's going on, but if it's now your job to be sensitive and no longer to bring comedy, then where's the comic relief anymore? What's the purpose of your art form? And what I love about comedy, for me, it's medicinal. It's totally medicinal. Like I listen to comedy and it just, whatever frustrations I have that day go to the back of my mind. And you two have very critical, important jobs in this universe.
Maybe.
I want to
comedy mean
applaud
to
you
you?
both.
What does it mean? It's something I've literally been writing stand-up bits hypothetically since I was 13. Like I would write like paragraphs out and I had journals full of it. And the whole reason I got into it actually was this guy I was dating was trying out for Second
At
City.
13?
No, I had done it for years this time. I was like
at 13.
Was he the same paranoid guy at the zoo
no.
who wasn't vegan?
Like,
Okay.
who are you dating at 13? I don't throw out words like whore, but no. Okay, go on.
I was like 19.
Because I do throw out those words.
I was like 19, and he was like going out for Second City, and he was like, oh, there was like a stand up portion. He wanted to see. He was like, I've never done stand up before, and I told him I have all these journals, all this material I have because I was obsessed with it. It's all I would do. He saw them, took my jokes, went to Toronto with them. He got past there, and he got this like job at this like comedy store, like working like kind of like being a door kind of thing. Yeah,
Doing what there?
my jokes.
No, hold on. He got a job doing what?
It was like kind of like a comedy store thing where like they're door guys, but they also get stage time.
Because of your jokes.
Yeah, like he like used my material in Toronto.
Sheesh.
And then the guy offered him a job, but then apparently the job was like just bullshit. The guy was like all coked out, and it wasn't a real thing. But he broke up with me as soon as he got the job offer, and then he called me back like a week later after he found out it wasn't going to go through. And yeah, that's when I realized I wanted to do stand up because I was like, all right, if they're good enough to work for someone else, maybe it's I don't know, maybe I should just try it.
So comedy to you means heartbreak and deception.
Well, it's just the one thing I've always loved, and now I just found a way to actually get past my fears of actually doing it.
I love that. I love that you found the median too, because a lot of people have an art form and then they don't have a path or something that's actually lucrative. Yeah. And that's a problem that most artists find themselves in LA. Like they come here, and Tehran says it all the time, and then someone says, "Oh, I'm a singer, but I wait tables." He's like, "So you're a waitress trying to be a singer?" Yeah. And I was like, "Whoa, Tehran, that's harsh. Calm down, bro." Then I realized, like, yeah, you are whatever you're putting the most time and energy into. I mean, it's true.
Yeah, if you say you're a singer and you're not actually practicing 8 hours a day or whatever it is,
you just do covers,
then you're not actually doing this. You want to do this. It's a wish, but it's not like. And I'm not saying, hey, you should be broke while you do stuff, but I'm saying if you're working a job 9 hours a day and you're doing your craft 10 minutes a day, then it's a hobby.
Although when I was in DC, I was a hip hop artist and a doorman at a club. And I'm just only bringing that up because Tehran selected my replacement, this guy named Nick. He's always talked about my friends, my puppy in the past. He has this guy named Nick. There was a period of time where I was, talking to someone else besides Tehran, someone else in my life. And Tehran went and found this guy, Nick, and then he starts this stupid little show, I Ran LA, with Martin. And he's like, oh, yeah, our dynamic is like me and your friendship's dynamic in the show, but it's with Nick. I said, what the hell? And then, like to add insult to injury, Nick is a doorman at Tehran's birthday party. I was a professional doorman for 7 years in Washington, D.C. So at that time, I actually took pride in being a doorman because I was a damn good doorman. Yeah. So I was a rapper. When people asked me, what do you do? I was like, yo, I'm a rapper and a doorman. It was popping. I owned it. I think as long as you're aware of what you're doing in life, and the hope is that your good friends around you will also be aware of that. And in my case, they're not.
Yeah. Interesting. Madison, just to let you know, Nick is my cousin. And second of all,
he's your cousin now?
George just made all of this up.
No, I didn't make it up.
Listen, that's just how he feels. That's how he feels.
So I'm crazy.
I Ran LA is about being Persian LA. Nick is also half Persian. So George is not. I just want to go down. George actually directed one of the episodes. Whatever. Anyway.
You know how painful it was to have to film Tehran while he's cheating on me?
Your replacement.
And then he started yelling at me.
Do you have any good friends in the comedy game? And do you think there are friends in the comedy game?
Yeah, I have friends. I feel like my best friend his name's Quentin. He's a comic, but he's kind of a good example. He does Uber for most of his money, but he also does open mics. And we're at a different we're at a different point in our careers, and I feel like that kind of helps it because I feel like if you're kind of in the same place with someone, it's too competitive, and I feel like it kind of works better.
So would you date him?
No, never.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was hurtful, Quentin. Poor Quentin.
No, he has a girlfriend.
Yo, let me explain something to girls because we learn from girls on the show, but I love throwing out dimes and letting you guys know how we think.
Tehran bars.
Because girls will say things like, oh no, he has a girlfriend. That doesn't mean he has a force field around his dick, okay? There's no force field around his dick that prevents him from doing people with girlfriends fuck people who aren't their girlfriends all the time. And I'm not using this in your example specifically because I'm sure you have a platonic friendship that is great and blah, 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 and yeah. So, but in general, I just want girls out there to know, because most of our listenership is women, when you say, oh no, he's my friend. He has a girlfriend, or he's like my brother. Does your brother try to fuck you? If the answer is no, then he's not your brother. If your brother would never fuck you and he might, then he's not like your brother, Yeah. I just want to throw out him having a girlfriend does not mean he won't fuck you. Okay. Let's just throw out those things. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff today, actually. And I do want to talk about dating inside the entertainment field, or especially with you, in your case, comedians and things of that nature. But what I want to start off by talking about Tom Brady. And why Tom Brady is because I've always had a high opinion that God loves Tom Brady. Just God loves Tom Brady. But then we see that he lost, this past weekend. And so maybe God doesn't love him as much as I originally thought.
Did he really lose, or did his team fail him?
His team failed him. He actually, listen, I don't know if you watch football. I don't. And I don't care if you care about football. I don't. But I love greatness. And so things like this, I watched the last, I watched the highlights and I watched the replay and the this and that. And just Tom Brady. And a lot of people were rooting against Tom Brady because
he's a Trump supporter?
It's because he's a Trump supporter. That was one reason. Second reason was because he always wins. They feel like he wins so much, and that because he's a white male, he shouldn't win more and things like that. And I want to know, where do you stand?
Well, it's kind of a Floyd Mayweather situation.
On Tom Brady.
It's kind of like everyone wanted Floyd Mayweather to lose just because he had won so much. But
actually, that's just because he's black.
Well, also because he hits women. I feel like that was another contributing factor. If it's a negative personal trait plus the fact that they're a winner, it makes them super hateable. If they'll just use one thing to kind of go against them.
Tehran said a joke, but actually, I watched the Floyd Mayweather fight.
Yeah.
I kid you not, there were black people there and white people. All the white people were going for McGregor.
Yeah, all the black people were
going for
it really
Floyd.
happens.
Seriously?
Listen, I'm going to tell you exactly why. There's an actual unspoken rivalry between Mexicans and black people. And it happens, and I actually witnessed it in its formation.
In DMV, it was big.
Recently,
it was a big
but
rivalry.
there's a unspoken rivalry. And I really why, it's two minorities. And it's black people, Mexicans, they pinche negro and then, fucking Mexican. Why? And I'll tell you why. Because every time Mexico has a champion that rises to the top. Floyd Mayweather would come and punch him in the face and make him $500,000, $500 million, and the guy would get like $20, and that would be the end of his career. So at some point, it's like, damn it, Floyd, damn you, bro, you've hurt our minority relations.
He came on Steve, and he spent the whole time talking about how his kids have like Rolls Royce and stuff, and they were complaining because they didn't want to drive it to school because they were getting made fun of because they were driving Rolls Royce. So then he got him a BMW. And it was kind of like he was coming from a place of like complaining about it. It was just like, fuck you a little bit. I don't know.
But that's the thing. But he's coming from his experience. And I'm going to tell you why I don't get upset at that. It's because, I wish I had a dad who got me Rolls Royce.
Tehran would like he would be in high school, get a Rolls Royce. He'd get the Phantom, right? 4 doors. And he'd have someone chauffeur him to school every day. He wouldn't even drive it. That's where Tehran's coming from. You know, like the saying that I always hear a lot is like, money doesn't buy happiness. And
yes, it does.
Neither does poverty.
You need to know where to shop, bro.
Yeah. No, money totally. Like during my happiest, I'm going to just say this, and I'm not a materialistic person.
I am.
But I'm a person in need of financial security. And when I do have money, thank God it's tax return month, I'm like a different GK. You just witnessed it right there. I got new guests on the show. I'm a new GK. And when my mood is a direct reflection of my bank account. I swear. And they did a study that said basically that $75,000 a year is the deciding factor. Like people, once you hit that mark of $75K a year, those people tend to be more content or happy in life than people who are under that bracket. So I don't know, just
definitely happier than I was last year. I feel like
because you're making more money.
Yeah,
Steve Harvey definitely popped it off.
Yeah, and also, but it's like I feel like poverty doesn't buy happiness, but it also kind of it's like where ambition comes from. Because I feel like if you come from not having money, you never want to go back to that. You like know what it's like. There's not really a ceiling. You don't really know what it's like to not be rich. It's really I feel like it's hard to. Where does that ambition really come from?
That what I do have some friends who are basically like silver spoon kids, and they do seem to like hustle a little less harder because they kind of have everything, kind of made out for them already.
Unless they want to I don't know. Sometimes you see it where they're trying to outdo their dad. So that's kind of the motivation, but
like President Trump.
And then it's all
he only received a small loan of $40 million.
It was $1 million.
It was not just $1 million.
He said $1 million.
He said $1 million and then forgot the $39 million other dollars that he received. Not that I don't dislike President Trump, but I dislike untrue facts. And he also forgot to remind everyone of all the friends of his father that he also had connections to. That makes a big difference.
If you studied the alternative facts, then maybe you would know.
I need to know more about. That's why I have my own. It's called Truer Facts, and I actually troll websites that put out facts, like real facts. I troll them and write comments on them all the time.
He throws out fake numbers a lot for the roast. One of the things I heard is because they send them the jokes beforehand to see, all right, are you okay with these jokes? And their head writer, he sent it to him, he previewed it, and then the only thing he had an issue with was it said it was worth $2 billion.
Yep.
He circled it, he put $10 billion. So then they wrote it back, and they put $4 billion, and he wrote back and said $6 billion, and that's what they put on the show. So it was like a negotiation.
For who?
For President Trump.
To say how much money he had.
He was on your show?
For the Comedy Central roast.
What?
Yeah. He was all he cared about was how much money people thought he had.
But I'll tell you why that actually matters. And this is why evaluations of money, once you get into these high numbers, are simply evaluations. There's no actual data in per se. So when we say Jeff Bezos is worth $115 billion, it's not like he has $115 billion cash stacked in a mansion somewhere where it's like, oh, this is how much I have. Every time I use $1, I get 114 billion, blah, 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 999. That's not how it works. So when you give someone a lesser evaluation in public, you actually demote them financially when it comes to institutions because they use these things to determine someone's value especially in the time of lending credit. So, for example, there have been billionaires that have sued Forbes because they wrote that they had $15 billion when they had like $20 billion, or they've wrote that they've had $10 billion when they only had $5 billion because of that fact. And it comes down to public evaluation because just like if you and I told people we were married after a matter of time, we would be common law married because we've said it so much.
Really?
Yeah. So that's how it works. There's that perception. That's a real thing. That's
Did
a
you
legal
just like project
connotation.
marriage onto
Yeah,
Madison?
we're
If anyone's
married.
getting married to Madison, it's you. It's you and your Lebanese connection. So her kids could be 3/4 Lebanese, and I want to see their white privilege.
No, it's not just me. It's me and Chaco. We're a bonded pair.
Oh, see, that's how it's different. It used to be me, Chaco, and Tehran, and now it's just you and Chaco. I see how
Madison
you are.
has a
Chaco
better
is
ring.
your Nick. Chaco is your Nick.
Madison is like a much better name than Tehran. Like it's
Madison Sinclair is a good name. So what did we decide with Tom Brady at the end? Are you a Tom Brady fan or hater?
I respect that he's won so much, and I respect that he's worked for it, but I just don't care enough about sports to carry the weight, really.
Do you care that he's only fucks supermodels? Can we discuss how that's a real thing? Can we discuss how he was an underwear model and then 6th-round draft pick and then just from circumstance and hard work has made it? I just like greatness. That's what it is.
Yeah, I feel like, well, he's also just like, his whole thing is his physical body. So it's like, it's not like it's weirder when like Elon Musk only dates supermodels because he's like an intellectual, but it's Tom Brady. I feel like that's what he is. It's really base, and to judge him on that's kind of stupid because it's sports.
I think actually Tom Brady's probably a very intelligent person. I've seen his interviews, but most importantly, I think you have to be intelligent and have IQ to be a good quarterback. Like that's how you get there. But Tom Brady was an issue when it came to a clip that was put out where he kisses his son, who's 11, on the lips. And people just really demonized him for this.
Well, the people who are mad are the ones sexualizing that kiss. It was an affectionate kiss.
It was a French kiss. Now, to be fair, I would French kiss my father if he was Tom Brady too. However,
It was a French kiss.
it's just like a peck on the lips.
I kiss Chaco the Chico. Does that make it something that it's not?
That's your bestiality with you? Maybe. It's possible because
I kiss my dog.
You do.
I love my dog.
You have a freaking Instagram for the dog.
I just think that sometimes people, like, for example, when people are like, that's so racist, and it's just them being oversensitive. No, you're the racist one now. You're making something that was never racist racist.
It's like the thing on Twitter, the girl's a demon for Halloween, and everyone's like, oh, she's in blackface. And people are like, if you see a demon and think of black people, like, that's more racist.
No, exactly. Perfect example.
That's
I think we're getting a little too crazy now.
Yeah.
And I think everyone needs to calm down. About Tom Brady, you never asked my feelings, Theron, probably because you're intimidated by my infatuation with the man. But I think he's a brilliant individual. He's a winner. Despite his political beliefs, at least he's public about being a Trump supporter when there's a lot of hidden Trump supporters who helped sway the vote this year, but this past election. I appreciate the fact that he's a straightforward person and he's a winner. And I like winners. And when people are always so upset at winners, it's like, what like chip do you have on your shoulder? You know, how many times have you lost? You're a loser. You're a loser. If you hate winners, you're a loser.
The kiss was kind of weird. I feel like I wasn't mad at it, but it was a little weird.
Great timing. That was great timing. Comedic. That's like a highlight on this thing. That was weird. Yeah, I don't know if I'd kiss my child on the lips either.
The kid's 11. It's a little off, you know. However, I can't knock a parent for giving their child affection. So it's like when you see these mothers breastfeeding their 4-year-old, it's not what I would do. I also saw a video recently of a child being in the room when a mother was giving birth, and everyone was furious. This is disgusting.
Do you have breasts? Do you have breasts? Do you have ovaries? You shouldn't be able to say what you would do.
Yeah, I have an opinion though. So since I have an opinion, I'm going to say what I think. It doesn't mean that I'm right. It just means that I have a thought. And if you don't like my thought, you can articulate your reasons for or against it, whatever.
Well, I didn't articulate them well. I called breast a breath.
So what I'm saying is I don't think I would do that. However, we're always making things that are natural unnatural, like that we're disgusted by. Oh my God, she has breasts. Put them away. But if she's selling hamburgers for Carl's Jr., then it's fine. You know?
Oh my gosh, I never thought about it like that.
Well, that's
the same
really,
opposers. Yeah, they don't oppose sexualized marketing, but they oppose
breastfeeding in public.
Yeah.
Ah.
Like, shame her. Go in the bathroom, whore. Breastfeed that kid with your disgusting whore titties.
Well, I could actually relate. I somewhat have breasts. I've gained some weight. when I got Choco the Cheagle, I'm sorry, I keep talking about my dog.
And
When
you're
I
breastfeeding him in public.
well, no, this is what happened when I adopted him. His mother tragically died. He didn't have a mom, so I was so happy to have my baby. I was holding him in my arms, cradling him. Mm-hmm. I didn't have my shirt on, and he started breastfeeding from me. And I felt bad. I stopped it, but I felt bad making him stop. The kid needed some nipple. It's what nature called for, and the mom was dead. So I became a mother, a breastfeeding mother, and I can truly say that I authentically empathize, whereas Tehran cannot. Have you breastfed a puppy before, Tehran? I think not.
I would not breastfeed a puppy, but that's not what our breasts are for. So you do think the kiss was weird?
Yeah, but also there's kind of like a double standard too, because it's with the whole Rihanna photo when she was kissing that toddler on the lips. I feel like she didn't get that much blowback from it, but
yeah, but it's also not her kid, and it's Rihanna. Like,
yeah,
you could kiss my kids, Rihanna.
I feel there's also something about like guys aren't allowed to be like affectionate with. It's like almost like they're kind of like punishing a guy for being affectionate towards his son, and that's like it's kind of like a weird trend. I feel like if dads are already kind of more emotionally distant, we should kind of like promote them to be like that. But it was a little weird that he took a photo. He posted it like that online, right?
They did. It was a clip that was made for something else, and they posted it, and people got mad. But at the same time, just because you're not used to seeing it doesn't mean that it's weird. We're used to seeing emotionally distant fathers, as you pointed out, and I really like that point. And so when we see an affectionate father, it's like, oh, geez, you're raising your kid to be a pussy or whatever it is. But, well, maybe that man, that boy is going to grow up and be a respectful towards women, fully adjusted man, and who's going to be affectionate, and therefore their kids are going to be better kids. Yeah. That kid that's in that birthing room is going to see the wonders of birth and be like, oh, I respect women so much. She just shoved a baby out of her vagina. Maybe it's not just meant for my dick. And so maybe I should be nicer to women. Yeah. Wow. Things like that where we don't look at it. We often don't look at things in that nature.
Yeah. He'll probably be more adjusted. He's probably not going to be the greatest athlete of all time like his dad. I feel like that's part of it. I don't know. Having like that, not having like a stable kind of like parenting base to go up almost like makes you more ambitious, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
What about like opinions of parenting though? Do people have
Do you have ovaries? Do you have a vagina? Then you shouldn't speak on it.
Exactly. One thing that bothers me, I was walking sorry, I keep talking about my dog. I just can't stop.
At this point, you have a sweater with pictures of dogs.
I was walking Choco. Actually, he was hiking on Runyon. He was perfectly fine. I gave him water. This old lady came up to me, cruel, mean old lady who probably owns a cat, came up and started yelling at me. And she said, "Did you give him water?" I'm like, "Yeah, I have his water bottle right here." "No, you need to give him water. He just had water. I have an Instagram of him sitting in the freaking drinking fountain, just loving the water." And she just started saying about how I shouldn't be. He's a small dog and he shouldn't be hiking and I should carry him. I was like, let me raise my dog. You know how much I pay for my dog a month? You don't pay for this.
You should have been like, water? No. Why? Are you supposed to give your dog water? I don't know. Sometimes I give him water like on his cuts after I beat him. Just to like see if her head would explode.
That would have been hilarious if I wasn't Middle Eastern because I would probably end up in jail.
So let's go through a couple questions just to get to know you better before we actually talk about a topic. Because we know Madison, whatever, but do we really know Madison? Let's discuss. All right. So we're going to give you either or questions. We're going to give you rapid fire either or, and you have to pick one or the other.
Okay.
Okay. And go. Mom or dad?
Mom.
Ruffles sour cream and onion or Ruffles cheddar and sour cream?
Ruffles cheddar and sour cream.
Yeah. Okay. KFC or Popeyes?
KFC.
Fist bump or spirit fingers?
Fist bump.
Okay. Fat black woman.
Oh God.
Or fat gay guy?
Fat black woman.
Wow, I don't know if I could beat that question. Ray-Bans or $5 sunglasses at the gas station?
$5 sunglasses at the gas station.
Yes. Strong. I was off you because of KFC, but back on.
She's back on.
Sure. Hockey or any other sport possible?
Hockey.
People, people from Venice Beach or people from Malibu?
People from Venice Beach.
It says a
Okay,
lot.
okay. Rock star or pop star?
Rockstar.
Rock star.
Rare, medium well, or well done?
Rare.
It's either or, George. It's either.
I just had to add a third
It's
option.
either or.
Because rare could mean
It's
different
either
things in
or.
different restaurants. Sometimes it's well done when
It's
they say
either
rare.
or. Okay. Okay. So one last question.
All right.
I'll pick one. You pick the other option. Okay. Man who's short, bald but wealthy, or
GK Supreme.
Don't know who that is.
you're talking to him.
Okay.
GK, it's on the
Okay.
hat. I added the Supreme. It's just GK.
Okay. GK Supreme.
Yes.
Why does that say GAK?
No, I bought the hat because Sharon didn't come with me. He's like, and it was like, had its own design.
great.
And that's like a broken link. So that was already there.
Oh.
I just added the G and K.
You should have wrote Mr. GK because it looks like GAK. So we get a little
Gak.
better feel for Madison Sinclair.
I didn't
We
get
a
my
little-
last question.
That was the last question. We both opted.
But I really wanted to ask this
What's the
one.
last question?
A man who's allergic to lactose or a man who's allergic to gluten?
A man who's allergic to lactose.
No one knows what gluten is. Okay, gluten is made up. They just told us one day we were all gluten free, and we were. Same way everyone's dying. Like I'm gonna start taking peanuts everywhere and just kill people because since that's killing people.
That's so cruel. People really die from peanuts.
Have you ever been in a situation where you've gone out on a date and you were just mortified that you were there?
Last night, actually.
And so what happened? What was the cause? What was?
He was a nice guy. I went on a date with him, but halfway through, I found out that he lives in a van. So I basically went on a date with a homeless person.
Or maybe a person with inspiration, dreams, and ambition.
or
Have you
maybe
ever thought
a
about
person
that?
with a mobile home. Gosh.
So judgy, judgy McJudgy.
Judgy.
It says a lot about someone if they pee outside always, I think.
You know what? I have an apartment. It's 1 bedroom. I live in West Hollywood. I pee outside always. I just want to let you know that is true or facts. I pee outside always.
Why do you do that?
I just enjoy the freedom of peeing. And I also, for some reason, feel that my pee helps plants grow. I don't know why.
I feel like we're
Maybe-
going to get arrested every time you do it.
Well, I technically do it in plants inside my apartment complex. But the point is, I pee outside always. So what happened on this date? You were, because he was nice, he was cool, everything was cool, but then you found out he lived in a van,
Yeah.
and then that was a no-no.
And then he also liked the film Mother. That's another red
What's
flag.
wrong with the film Mother? I've
horrible.
never seen it, but I love my mom.
Is this with the girl who's in Hunger Games?
With Jennifer Lawrence, the one where they tear apart a baby halfway through it, I guess.
And why do you dislike that movie so much?
It was just like so. It was trying to be so artsy and it tried to be biblical and it was so into itself that it was just stupid because it was the whole time. It's like literally just someone. It's like people murdering a baby and then it's like all this stuff that's like insane, like people breathing through the walls and all this like really crazy imagery, and they just tried to shock people. And I just thought it was kind of dumb.
So basically, to date Madison Sinclair, you have to at least live in a studio,
Yes.
like and in a fixed location, and not like wannabe artsy movies.
And have an Amazon Prime account.
Amazon Prime account.
Yeah.
I check off a lot of these boxes. Besides the stipulation of peeing outside, because that wasn't actually the no-no. You just didn't like the fact that he had to pee outside. You didn't
Yeah.
like that he did pee outside. It's that he had to.
Exactly.
Okay, so men, listen to these pearls of advice.
Man who pees outside or man who forgets to put the seat up when he pees?
Man who forgets to put the seat up when he pees.
Okay, I have, if we're doing either ors, what if you went on a date? I have a question on what if, right? Okay. What if you went on a date and you offered to pay your half, and the guy was like, sure, fine. And then, would you be cool with that, or was that a no-no?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes I do that.
Okay, so, and then the guy pulled out a coupon, right? And then used it, but only on his portion of the bill. And the guy was like, and the waiter was like, okay, you want me to use this on the whole thing? And he was like, no, just my half.
This is oddly
I get
specific.
better
I feel
value.
like this is happening.
Then I get better value. What would you do? What would you do? Would that be a deal breaker?
Yeah, that's very telling of a person. That's selfish.
I
It's
just think-
also petty.
'cause you know what we should do is have a show where we go out on dates and do the worst things and see how
Oh my
far
gosh,
we can
that's great. That's a great show.
Imperfect Gentlemen, and we
Imperfect
actually
Gentlemen. You
we go
finally
as
found
far
out. Yeah.
as possible on dates and just videotape them on how far we can go to red flag and be like, what part was the no?
Episode 1, I'm bringing my mom to my
Yeah.
first date.
That's
I feel
a
like
great
women
idea.
could probably go further because we did a segment with Steve where I had like a fake Tinder and I used Leah Knauer.
No,
She's a comic in LA. I used her face, and she let me. And,
she's very good looking.
Yeah, she's a pretty girl. And I used her face, and I was just like these guys were like hitting me up, and they were trying to like hook up with her or whatever. And I was saying like the worst stuff possible, and the guys are still like 100% game. Like I'm like, I'm just having a few drinks at work right now. He's like, oh, where do you work? I'm like, oh, I'm at a daycare. And they're like,
Oh my gosh.
and they just went along with it. They're like, oh, well, I'm at the Roosevelt. You should come by. And I was like, can I bring the kids to this bar? And he's like, let me check. And he goes, no, you can't. And he's like,
It was this real life?
yeah, like the people, like there was like no line really. Like if they just thought they were going to sleep with her, they would.
Oh my
Do whatever.
God. That's wild.
Actually, Kate Quigley had something where she would say like crazy things to guys on Tinder, like, "Oh, I just murdered my last boyfriend. And I just got out of jail," and then the guy would be like, "Oh yeah, what did he do wrong?" Like, not, "Oh, you're a murderer, you crazy bitch."
I feel like if it was a dude from DC, he'd be like, so when are we meeting up?
Yeah, well, they did. They were really on that. I think your guys will go very far, but I'm interested in knowing what's the no for the girls, because usually when you go on a date, there's a point where the girl makes an early decision that it's going to be a no. It's going to be a pass.
Yeah.
So I just want to know where that comes into play.
I feel like it's if you find out that, for me, it's like if they're not a good person, like if it's someone who like kind of like dates too recreationally, I'm not really into that. If it's someone who I think is not very interesting, because there's a lot of boring people in LA. I feel like as long as they're interesting and they're intelligent, I don't know, and not a shitty person. I feel like that's pretty much it.
Huh. Well,
You have such high standards in men.
yeah, basically, don't be that bad a human being. So I
You
get
just
it.
love life. I like
So
it.
Hitler's off, but only because you know what I'm saying? Like you actually like the art thing and the world power thing. Just don't like the, oh my God, what you did was evil.
He was ambitious, yeah.
But it's evil. I get it. And before people go crazy, she was kidding. She's a comedian. Because dating's very difficult,
Yeah.
especially in LA. Would you ever date someone in comedy or in general in your industry? And what do you think the advice should be for that?
I always said I would never date a stand-up, and
Because they're all broke and live in mobile homes. But
yeah, that's a big factor. But also, I feel like it's such a small pool that if I got successful and I was dating a stand-up comedian, it would look like that's why I did. And that would make sense because I feel like that's totally what it would look like. And
so that's funny because you only assumed you would date a successful comedian. You never once assumed you would date like an open micer.
No.
See, that's hilarious. Like she was like, and then I got successful and it would look like that's why. No, it wouldn't look that why if you were just dating a regular person who happened to be stand-up. You're dating
Your
Chris D'Elia.
standards
In your
just
mind,
went
it was
so much higher than
Yeah.
what you described earlier.
you were in the room with Louis C.K. Like that's the only guy that was on your list.
because I dated one guy who was in comedy, and it was a weird thing because he was an improv comedian, and it was weird because he was a character. He was more of an actor, so that's why I was like, I justified like, oh, it's a completely different
Sure.
industry. But it was weird because I was a fan of his when I was little, and it was a really weird dynamic.
Al Franken is a really good congressman and was really funny. His improv skills were amazing, and I understand and appreciate that about you. So you were a fan of him as a kid and then grew up to date him.
I got an autograph of him when I was 12 for Christmas.
Wow, that's a real thing.
You actually dated him?
Yeah, for like a year.
That's
Who
a
is-
real thing.
Who is he, Teron?
I mean, I don't know, but I
I'll
don't
just say
think
he was on SNL, but
who wasn't.
I can't say who it is.
You know what I'm saying? Like, who wasn't? Like, what I'm saying, once again, Al Franken,
Yeah.
amazing congressman. What he did was deplorable. His actions of sexual harassing women were deplorable. But I'm glad he found you at the time he did.
It was weird because the things that he did that were funny were the things that were who he was. Like he would do the character voices in his sleep. And that was like super. It's weird to like someone's comedy and then realize, oh, that's just like that's a tick. Like
that's creepy.
Something wrong there. Yeah,
that's creepy. That's creepy.
And there's some people who I feel like that.
Can we guess who it is?
You can guess who it is if you want.
Jeff Richards. You guys don't know why that's so funny, but all the comedians listening are probably dying.
Eric Griffin
No,
was never on SNL, but you're a horrible person.
No, he was John Belushi.
John Belushi, crazy. That was a good guess. That was a good guess to throw out there.
Kayvon.
Stop. Just stop. Just stop. Just stop. So look, so you think that you shouldn't date someone in your industry?
Yeah, because it ruined his comedy for me, and he was someone I looked up to, and I feel like it convoluted too much. What he thought of my comedy mattered so much, and also it kind of tied in because it's like I look up to you, so it matters, and also I'm dating you, so I care about how you think about me too. So it was like a weird, I don't know, like it felt like there was so much pressure with my comedy, even more so because the person I was dating, I looked up to and also had an opinion on it. So I felt like it was way too convoluted. Like
they were just very intimidated by you.
Well, how did you go from admiring to dating? You met him one day and then...
Yeah, I went up to him at the Emmys and told him I liked how the writing on a show. And then I found out he wrote a show. And then so I was complimenting him, and he was like, "Oh, we should go have drinks sometime."
And this is why men sexually harass women, by the way. It's because of you. Because it worked. Look, you want to know why guys honk their horns while they're driving by? Because, 100 times it doesn't work, but the one time it did was worth it. Like, it was the least amount of effort with the most amount of result.
I feel like I never am opposed to anyone asking me for drinks. I'm never opposed to anyone asking me out. It's just like, keep your dick in your pants. And also, I don't know, it's like things like that. Like, I feel like that's when I like.
Oh, you like that part, Martin? It was funny. Martin, she was talking to you. So how does one in the situation where you're in a professional setting even get to the point where you're dating someone?
I feel like if you can, there's no problem asking a girl out that you're dating. Like, I feel that you're working with. I feel like that's fine. It like could make things a little bit weird, but I don't think that that's sexual harassment. I don't think anyone's claiming that it is. And I feel like as long as you ask someone politely and like not in a way that's like weird, then and you also aren't their boss, I feel like that's the only way it could be weird. If you're a boss, you can't date anyone that's working for you.
Oh, that's real.
But
that's real.
Yeah, as long as they're in the same.
That's so real.
Why are you saying it like your boss tries to date you? Oh, that's right. Your boss always does try to date you. Awkward.
Really?
or his friends' bosses too.
Really?
Yeah.
And in the past, I actually dated a boss.
That's like a weird dynamic. I feel like for women too, they almost like I'm assuming it's a woman. I don't know.
Well, you assumed
what you're into.
Who's more petty, men or women?
Men, I think.
Men are more petty. So if you dated your boss, you feel like your boss and broke up, your boss would be, a male boss would be way more petty than a female boss.
Yeah.
Oh, no. This is how Joe Budden says, no. Like what, rapping didn't work, so you just started saying no. Actually, I love Joe Budden. You're amazing. He's a really good rapper. So my boss told me she loved me. But I knew that the masseuse who came to our store gave her a happy ending massage. So when she told me she loved me, I just laughed. Like, how do you love me? You just got a happy ending massage by the masseuse.
This is the boss you were dating?
Yes.
Got a happy ending massage?
Yes.
How do you get, okay.
I always wondered how that.
It's difficult to make a girl come in general. How does a masseuse...
He's a masseuse.
Yeah, but is he a vibrating masseuse? Like, I need to understand.
I assume he is. I was there in the store when he came, and he was being flirtatious. And he's like, "Oh, if you ever need a massage," and grabbed her hand like this and started like. Anyways,
that's kind of what massage.
So I knew.
Okay,
in my head, I said, masseuse is going to have sex with this boss that I'm dating. Mm-hmm. So they met up, and I just always assumed it happened, you know. And I asked her years later, and it did happen. So my instinct was correct. So knowing this information, she told me she loved me one morning, and my reaction was to laugh because all I could imagine.
And this is the one you were dating.
Yeah, because all I can imagine is masseuse vibrating. And so I went to work, and she basically took the new inventory that came in and threw it at me, threw the box, everything. She's like, put all this away right now. And I was like, I quit. You can't do this to me. So I quit.
Did you do it with that much sass though? Because when you did it
I was
right
like,
now,
you can't do this to
you
me.
can't do this to me.
Like little head, no, you can't do this to me.
Okay.
And the real sass is when your head goes a different direction than your finger. Because if you go like this, it's a wrap for you. If you go like that, whatever. But if you're like, you can't do this to me, it's intense.
It's interesting that happened to you, and I'm sorry that you had that experience.
You're not sorry. You're happy. In your head, you're
I
like,
think it's funny. But
in your head, you want that boss's phone number.
you didn't have to sleep with your boss. What I do want to say is, and it's one question. Why does your hat say GAC? Can we discuss why you decided to get
My hat
GAC?
does not say GAC. Now, while I don't know what this object is in the middle, I don't know what this phallic object is, okay? I'm guessing on the back of the hat, there's a chain and it has a missing link. I think the missing link's here. So I thought it would be cool with this nice satin hat. My hat
Isn't that a Crooks and Castle hat?
It's very nice, yes.
satin.
It's a Crooks
I
and
don't know
Castle
brands.
hat.
I'm new to hats. I
Yeah.
copied your
So
swag.
the crack, that's the castle and that's the Crooks. So no, it's not the missing chain.
What
Just
is-
looks like
this
it's
is a crook? That
It's
is
a
a crook?
castle.
It's a castle.
Yeah,
So
Crooks
it's
and
not
Castle.
GAC. It's G Castle K. G Castle.
Have you ever
G
dated a
Castle.
boss?
Have I ever what?
A boss.
Dated a boss?
Yeah,
No, I
Steve
haven't.
Harvey. Do you date Steve
Yeah,
Harvey?
I do
Have
not
you ever
date-
dated Steve Harvey?
never dated
That
Steve
would
Harvey.
ruin his rep, by the way. Dating Madison Sinclair would be the destruction and end of all these women, and especially all the black women in America would rise and revolt against Steve Harvey. Is Steve Harvey married?
Yeah.
He's on his like fifth marriage.
He's like super married. Like he loves her like crazy.
I mean, after the first 3, I'm sure.
No,
He-
he's definitely in love with her. I could tell.
He takes like crazy good care of her. Like for
Yeah.
her birthday, he got her a white Rolls Royce, and like she opened, and all of her friends were inside, and they went for like a weekend getaway. Like he plans these like
that's
extravagant-
nice. He just spent money on her. Like a really nice gift would have been an experience together.
Well, they do stuff. He also he takes 3 months off a year so that he can just vacation with his family.
Oh, that's annoying. Listen, I would just never like my family. Look, Mitch, you like this mansion? All right, I'm working. You're like, I don't even like you that much. You know what I'm saying? Bought you a Rolls Royce. That means shut up for the next 6 months. That's a 6 months of shutting up until the next thing, the Valentine's or whatever the next thing I have to do is. So yeah, I'm sure Steve really loves his wife. I'm sure
He stitches her initials in all of his suits and stuff too. I
that's
guess.
really
It's like
good for him. And it's this revelation where he found God and now he realizes the foundation of his relationship. Is that one of the things, tenets
yeah.
that he preaches?
He does like sermons at the end of all of his shows.
Little sermons. Good
Yeah.
for him. I mean, that's his calling.
Yeah.
He looks like a black pastor. Like that's, he wears the suits like them. Like it's the concept.
Were you in the studio the episode where they named a street after him?
No, I heard about that.
That made me cry when he cried. I cried with him.
Yeah, he cries a lot. Like there's like several stories, and he doesn't strike me as someone you'd think would cry.
Yeah.
but there's like several stories of him crying. And I'm
Is
like, this
he?
guy's so guy.
Can you ask him for me? I'm sure he'd be cool. If he's looking to adopt a nephew named GK, GAC.
If GAK.
Like I feel like
Jack-
Steve Harvey should be my uncle. I used to watch him growing up, and I looked
Steve
up
Harvey
to him.
is like
What-
everyone's uncle.
What was
Yeah.
it? The Steve Harvey Show? Was that the name of the show?
Yes, Steve
Yeah,
Harvey
when
Show.
he was
I
a
love
music
that
teacher.
show.
My
Yeah.
favorite thing was when he's on Family Feud, and I swear he would give black families just a little more time than white family. Like it'd be like this. Okay, John, do you know the answer? They asked 100 Americans, what kind of chips do you like? Oh, you don't know? You don't? Okay, you, Sarah, Tom, Bill. Okay, and over here we have the Rashad family. Rashad family, how you doing, Shakira? Shakira, what do you think? We asked 100 million people. Like he would just talk and he slows down. I'm like, you're doing that on purpose, Steve. I respect that. I like it a lot. And I don't know how
special.
I would do or my family would do on Family Feud. It'd be horrible. My dad's Persian, so it'd just be like everything. We asked 100 people to name a fruit with W. What's a banana? No, not what's a banana. Not what's a banana. Kiwi? Kiwi has W. Stop that, Bubba. At this point, you're doing it on purpose.
One of my favorite Family Feud things was they asked people what is something you bury in your backyard, and the first answer she gave was baby dolls. They're like, what?
How about call the cops?
Yeah.
Was that like a crazy meme?
No, it was
That's
like
a crazy
I
bitch.
feel like it didn't get any like. And then the second thing, like, you have one more chance. Like, what else? And she goes, placenta. And we're like, what? You buried
Who is
placenta
that
in your
person?
Dog, God, who is this murderer?
No, it's a.
This baby doll's a placenta. in the
She's
backyard.
aborted baby. She is murdered baby.
I think I know who the person is. By the way, I know who it is.
The mom that killed the kids.
No. It's a friend of mine who passed away. Friend of Tehran's too.
No. There is no friend of Tehran's. Don't throw me under the bus, and I don't know what name you want to throw out. Oh, that's actually funny. Okay, that was a good answer. Like you guys don't get the inside joke, but trust me, it's there. So you would never date anyone, for example, if a new guy started working on the Steve Harvey show, Charles, because I feel like you would like a Charles, you know? And he goes by Charles too, not C, not Charlie, but Charles. And, you know, good looking guy.
By Charles.
Yeah, he goes by Charles. And, you know, just enough tattoos to scare your mom, but not too many where you know he can't ever have a future. And would you date that guy? He was like, hey, I was just wondering, you know, I really like what you write and stuff. If you want to, you know, just go to the bar sometime.
It would have to take so much of me getting to know them while I was working for me to know that a relationship would work, just because at that point it's like it's such a risk. And
So how long?
like 6 months. And I had hung out with them recreationally. Like if we hung out like as friends, it would take like a little bit. I wouldn't want to jump into something like that just because it's my job, and I feel like my job's way more important than my personal life. I don't know what that says about me, but
No, that I mean, it actually makes me like you even more because after the KFC answer, I was off you. But
I've never had Popeyes, so it's not that I don't like it. I just never had it.
that just tells me how
Never
white
had
you are.
Popeyes?
That's white privilege, by the way. White privilege is not having Popeyes. That is
Well,
the definition of
well,
white
look,
privilege.
Actually, there's not a lot of Popeyes around here. There was where I'm from, but there's one
So
right in
Popeyes
Hollywood.
right around the corner.
Do you want to go to Popeyes after
Let's
this?
go to Popeyes.
You didn't know him for 6 months. So
She's down.
with Charles, and I'll tell you what makes it difficult for guys is if I'm friends with you for 6 months, now I'm so scared to cross that barrier and ask you out
Yeah.
that I won't do it. And I've also noticed with girls, the longer you wait, the less likely something's going to happen, even if that was the initial attraction, situation, whatever.
I think it depends. I think it's like sometimes it's undeniable, and sometimes it's like you just get to know someone on a platonic sense, and sometimes you learn more about a person when you're dating, like when you're just friends with them versus when you're dating them, and you get a really quick sense of like, oh, this wouldn't work out because I know that person's truth, and it's not like when you date someone, it takes a year to try to figure out who a person is.
So have you? What's the
don't
longest
people
you've
like
waited,
mystery?
George? What's the longest you've waited
For what?
to ask a girl out? Like from time of conception, meaning you met her. How long?
So the longest it took me was 2 years, and I didn't even want to go on a date with her. Tehran calls me, and says, "Hey, you should go on a date with Golku." And I said, "Actually, I don't really want to go on a date with Golku. I don't look at her like that." He's like, "Yeah, but she'd be good for you, and you'd be good for her. Go on a date with Golku, Golkoo." And I said, I don't want to do this right now. So we go and I have ice cream with Golku, okay? And then we hang out again. She asked me to hang out again, okay? I hang out with Golku again, go to Dave & Buster's, fine. So then Valentine's was like the next day or something, the next week. It was like 2 dates. So I was like, all right, you know what? It makes sense. I was like, hey, next Saturday, do you want to go to dinner? And at this point, I'm just doing it because Tehran told me to do it. So I say, hey, do you want to, go out for Valentine's? And next Saturday, she's like, okay, yeah. I'm like, yeah, it's Valentine's. She's like, oh, it's Valentine's? I'm like, yeah. Cool. Oh, yeah, pick me up at 1. Cool. Made dinner reservations, which is impossible to do within a week in LA on Valentine's. So, guys, if you're listening, you heard it from GK, Good Karma Supreme. Do it now, because if you don't get your res now, you're not going to get a res. So get it now. And I say, okay, I'm on your way. And she's like, oh, never mind. I can't go to dinner. And just burned me. And, and I didn't even want this. I didn't even want the rejection. Most human beings are scared of rejection. We fear rejection more than we fear anything, or else we'd all be salesmen and just do a million calls and just get a lot more money on the side. She rejected me. I didn't even want to go on the date. Tehran got me rejected. Oh, and furthermore, another lady, okay, we're out and, Tehran has some friends there and he goes, oh, George, you should talk to her. Walk her to her car. I kid you not. The lady turns around, puts her back to me, and walks away. And she's an Indian from Vancouver. And I didn't even want to date her either. I said, did you just get me rejected again? So it's not that I've waited. I'm usually a very straightforward person. It's that when I'm coerced by my friend to be set up for failure because you have a sadistic friend who enjoys seeing you fail in life, okay, then yeah, you wait longer. But most guys, look, what I don't like, back to reality, okay. Okay. Back to reality. Like most guys, what I don't like the creep type of guys. Cause like I'm a blunt, straightforward person. What I hate is that guy who acts like a friend to a lady who's in a relationship and waits like 2 years and rides out a relationship and then attacks. I think that guy is scum.
You know what that guy's like? He's like her brother.
It's like who?
Like her brother. That's who he is.
Who's her
my brother?
Who's her?
It's like my brother. Whoever the girl is.
Oh,
Like,
the brother.
Like my brother.
Yeah.
Okay, so as soon as we broke up, all of a sudden Larry, your brother.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Larry.
It feels like a betrayal because it feels like, oh, that friendship was nothing.
Rebound dick. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why it's difficult to wait so long. Like you want to wait so long, and it's like that's a very tough thing.
But don't you hate that it actually works sometimes?
I mean, it works a lot of times.
I mean, yeah, I feel like it could, but I just feel like I'm only in favor of waiting if you're working with a person. I don't think you should wait in general because it's kind of weird. If someone's not interested in you, they're not interested in you. You can't like wait the long game until they are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Then they're just settling. I think girls do that. They settle and date their friends. I don't think it's ever like genuine.
But they end up marrying them.
Yeah, you can marry, settle.
Marry, settle.
Yeah.
Would you do that?
No.
You wouldn't marry, settle.
Well,
at this point,
who's your perfect guy?
My perfect guy?
Like, be real. Like, you have an idea, even if you're like, well, no, like physically, mentally, financially. I want to hear who's this perfect guy.
Someone who like they have to have a good career. They have to be driven.
check.
They have to like animals.
Check.
They have to be funny.
Check.
Intelligent.
Check.
And be like a compassionate, good person. I think that's pretty much it.
What do they look like?
What do they look like?
Are you picky about looks? Do you have a look preference?
I don't. I've gone all over the board with people I've dated. You
dated a black guy?
I haven't actually.
Okay, so I guess you haven't gone all over the board. I guess there's a part of the board that you haven't gone to, and that's the dark side. And that's the dark.
My first boyfriend was Asian, so I feel
Whoa, you're doing that thing. You're white-splaining right now. You're white-splaining.
What's white-splaining?
White-splaining is when you try to justify a white behavior or you try to express it in a white way. And it's like, oh, but my first boyfriend was Asian.
But black guys don't like me, I feel like. I don't get hit on by black guys.
She's not white, Tron.
She's
actually at the... You should have never said
white?
you're Lebanese, by the way. Why would you say that? Like, you had a free pass in life. I can't pass this eyebrow beard. You had hair on arms. You had a pass. Why would you admit that you're half Lebanese? Irish all the way. Sorry, I just had a weird breakdown.
It wasn't so long ago the Irish were the Lebanese of the United States, my brother. Everyone's had their time, ups and downs, and you should always be just proud of who you are and what you are in any capacity. And so Madison, of course, should not have said she was Lebanese because she looks white. So what's this guy look like? Like you were saying, you've been all over the board. What's all over the board?
Well, I mean, I feel like I've kind of towed the line with age lately too. I feel like I've been dating people who are older than me, just because I want someone who's responsible and has their stuff together. And I feel like in LA, it's like it takes so much more just to get settled. So usually people tend to be a little bit.
That's real.
And it's not like I don't think it comes from a gold diggy kind of standpoint. I think it's just like I want someone who's at the same place as me, and I feel like people my age aren't at the same place as me, and I don't want to be with someone I feel like is like a child.
What age range do you play? It's really bad to ask someone's age in Hollywood, but age range is fine.
Which age range?
25 to 32.
Does she date or play?
I'll date anyone who is my age. I'm 23 to dated someone who's 46.
Check.
I would say 38. 38 is like
hilarious.
the new.
We're getting old, bro. My birthday's tomorrow, and so it's like a constant reminder of age. And ultimately, if you had to give one piece of advice, if you're gonna date in your field or in your office, don't.
If you're going to do it, I would just make sure that it's something that it's like a serious relationship and it's not that you're just like sleeping with a person. Because I feel like if you're just sleeping with a person, that's like really, that can get complicated and it's so unnecessary. There's so many people you can have sex with in LA. You don't have to, or
It's
anywhere.
convenient when it's in the office. Plus, you can get that office play, which is amazing. So, what's your final words on dating someone in the field or office?
My final words? There's like no transition there. Dating someone in the office, if you're a man seeking to date a lady, don't do it. If you're a lady seeking to date a man, don't do it. And if you're a lady seeking to date a lady, don't do it. And if you're a man seeking to date a man, don't do it. Just don't do it.
Because you don't think office. What about field? What if like two actors?
Office, no. Field, don't do it. Because I think eventually there's competition.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I'm a writer, by the way. I'm coming for you.
I would say this. I would say I really appreciate how you said if it's not going to be serious, then don't do it. You can't choose the person you love, and of course, what they do with animals is when you want animals to procreate, like pandas, what do? Throw them in the same cage, and that's what work kind of is. So it's actually very naive of us to think that office romance won't ever brew because you're around this person often, and in college, who do you date? Other people on your campus. Now this is your campus, it's your job. But you should do two things. Either it should be very serious or very, very casual. Because if you're just having sex and those are the rules, then it's fine. It's just when it gets complicated, you should cut it off right away. Or it's very serious. So it's kind of like cheating on a spouse. Don't do it, but if you are, it should either be not serious at all, where now you're leaving your friends and family and children for this person, or you're willing to leave for this person because they are your new future, not an in-between. And that's so much of Ellie is the gray area.
Yeah, because you know what? You're cheating yourself. Let's say you're with someone you thought you loved, but then you find someone who you love more. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, you're cheating yourself by staying with that person. You just found someone you love more.
It's hard though, because you don't. When you first meet someone, they seem way cooler than once you get to know them for like years.
Longevity, bro.
Yeah.
Which is why I treat girls way better in 5 years in than 5 days in. Like 5 days in, you haven't earned Cheesecake Factory, bitch. You know what I'm saying? That's a privilege.
Yeah. So Tehran gave me this lecture, right? Well, George, they gotta make him earn it. You gotta like put in more effort later than earlier. Because I was first dating at like Ruth's Chris, first dating at all these expensive places. And Ruth's Chris isn't even like one of the more expensive places in LA.
It is, bro.
It's just sad. So then I said, yeah, he's right. So then I asked this lady on the date, I was like, hey, do you want to go to this pizza joint with me? Never called me again, bro.
Seriously?
Yeah, he set me up again.
I didn't say go to Ruth Chris.